Okay, so professors, today we are going to continue our topic, which is communication, and try as much as possible if we can wrap up with the outstanding concepts. So today we'll talk about mainly two concepts, and if we have time, we'll add on one more. So I hinted the last time that we're going to discuss grapevine and look at the characteristics of grapevine, look at some of the benefits or the advantages and disadvantages associated with it. Now, this is stemming from our discussion from previous weeks when we looked at formal versus informal communication, and we indicated that the formal communication follows a structured procedure and it is used in official settings, but the informal does not have any established structure and is normally used at the workplace to share information between friends or peers or people with acquaintances or social interactions. Okay, now I want to look at grapevine, and grapevine is one of the major network of communication that occurs in business organizations. Or better still, I should say, it is a form of informal communication that is very rampant in every organization you find yourself. So what is grapevine? Let's define grapevine. I don't know if professors have heard of this word before. Grapevine, what is it? Any idea as to what grapevine means? Prof. Charles, would you try?
Okay, so grapevine is an informal means of communication which usually takes the form of gossip.
Okay. So yes, it's an informal form of communication. Okay. But what makes it more unique is that it is characterized by gossips and hearsay or rumors. So the main theme in grapevine is that this is an informal communication that uses mainly gossips or rumors or hearsay. And of course, in your various schools, I'm sure you are familiar to this, where students say certain things about teachers or even their colleague students, which might not necessarily be true. That is not to say that all gossips are false. Some gossips have truth in them, right? So whether true or false, grapevine uses the main theme of gossiping or hearsay and rumors. And it is one of the form of communication that is very fast, very fast. If you want to get information to people, in fact, as quick as Usain Bolt, then grapevine is one of your surest way to transfer that information. Okay, so let's define grapevine. I think you can put something down in your notes. So as we indicated, it is an informal form of communication. It is an informal form of communication. type that on the board for you. It is an informal form of communication that is associated with rumors, gossips, or hearsay. In our local language, the Fantis will say right? You hear people murmuring and whispering, you don't even know what they are saying. That's a typical nature of grapevine. Now, it is a powerful tool in spreading information in an organization. And so let's look at some of the characteristics of grapevine. So characteristics of grapevine. The first obvious one is it's an informal form of communication. So you see, when you are gossiping, you don't need to follow any strict procedure, right? Or if you hear something about someone and you are telling a friend or a colleague, I'm not sure you'd necessarily be going through any strict procedure to transfer that information. So it is an informal form of communication. Two, it spreads information faster. So you say something, the next minute everybody is aware through gossips. So it spreads information fast. But another characteristic which is very unfortunate is that there are a lot of distortions. There are a lot of distortions in the message that is transferred. And I want to believe that you might have experienced one or two grapevine or gossips about you, which you see that there is a lot of distortions in the message that is transferred. If you want to add on, of course, you can let me. Another one is very difficult to control once it's set into motion. Once people start gossiping, you can't control it. Once people start gossiping, you can't control. So it's very difficult. It is very difficult to control. Okay. So these are few characteristics of another important thing is it is difficult to identify the source of the information. It is difficult to identify the source of information. That is true because when people start spreading gossips, sometimes you don't know, oh, I heard it from here, I heard it from here. Who did you hear it from? You will never find that source of information. So it's difficult to identify the source of information. And again, it does not follow any formal structure or procedure. Okay, now let's look at some of the advantages and disadvantages of Grapevine. Some advantages and disadvantages. So advantages of Grapevine. So based on what we've discussed so far, can you couch one advantage of Grapevine? Looking at its definition and characteristics. Has any idea as to what Prof. Charles?
Spreads information faster.
Yeah, definitely. It is very fast, so it helps to spread information faster. That will be an advantage of Grapevine. Okay. What other form of or what advantage could you also add? Any other idea as to what the benefit of Grapevine? Okay, it also creates strong social and working relationships. You see, when people, I don't know if you have come across people who are seen as gossip partners. You see that strong bond and relationship between them. That is a positive side of Grapevine. It creates that strong social and working relationship between workers. Okay. The next point is that it can be used to get valuable feedback from employees. How is this possible? Imagine if a supervisor should or let's even take for example in school, your headmaster says something and wants you to share your idea. For example, he says that he wants to establish um, a go to town without exit policy, where students can go to town without exit. And then he wants each and every one of the students to contribute as to whether they agree or disagree, or if they feel that that policy is very good or not. If the headmaster asks you to officially provide a response, either by writing a letter or going in an interview for you to be questioned, and then I'm not sure majority of the students will be able to give exactly how they feel about that policy. But if The headmaster says it and leaves it out just like that. You hear the students, chit-chatting among themselves, gossiping here and there. And definitely the headmaster will be hearing those feedback that is coming from the students. But if you leave it out for them to do it formally, I'm sure nobody will respond to such kind of um, policy from the headmaster. So Grapevine can actually be used to get valuable feedback from employees sometimes. If you really want to know how people feel, just allow them to chit chat or gossip among themselves. Now, having said this, I don't want you to get the impression that gossip is always wrong. No. If you are gossiping about something that is true and factual, right, it comes with its own benefits, and these are some that we can speak about. Please, any question? Any question? Okay, let me add the last one, and then we'll look at some of the disadvantages of grapevine. So it can be used to supplement formal communication. Sometimes gossip is good. In an organization where everything is official, this can be used as a way of supplementing that official form of communication daily basis. Okay, now let's look at the downsides of grapevine, the disadvantages. Please, if you have a question, you can ask me. Disadvantages of grapevine. I think the obvious one is that it is overloaded with rumors and distortions. That is very true. That's one of the, in fact, it is the greatest downside of grapevine. Okay. Gossips mostly do not carry um, the true facts, okay, and that is a challenge to businesses in communication. Okay, let's look at the second one. It undermines the formal structures in an organization. So imagine a colleague student going straight to the headmaster to gossip about you. But for grapevine, such a colleague cannot go to the headmaster to spread that rumor. Okay, so grapevine in a way doesn't respect the formal structures in an organization. That is how come a colleague can run to your supervisor's office and spread false information about you because of grapevine. Okay. So it does not follow any structure, formal structure or procedure. It can also create unnecessary speculations. It can also create unnecessary speculation where employees will be even saying things that are not even closer to the fact, right? Of course, in a way, it can also decrease the morale of workers. Okay, so it can decrease the morale of workers and incite fear. In an environment where gossip dominates or grapevine is seen very visible, there is always that fear. Okay. It's either people are afraid people will be spreading false information about them, or the information that is spread is so wrong that it is creating fear and panic among workers. It can also demotivate workers. Imagine your colleague going to your supervisor to say things that are not true. It demotivates you. Okay. So these are some of the disadvantages of grapevine. I'm sure you read further or more in your textbooks as well. But then before we move on, where do these gossips even start from? So let's look at the sources of grapevine. Sources of grapevine. Okay, where do these gossips and rumors come from? And the first source is that when you hear loud voices, okay, from behind closed doors. Sometimes you are passing through maybe the corridors of some offices, and then you hear people talking and chatting. Then you do what we call eavesdropping. Okay, you'll be eavesdropping on their communication just to hear what they are saying. Okay, so you eavesdrop, and that is really a bad thing to do. But that is one of the sources of um, um, grapevine or gossip. So eavesdropping. Secretly listen to people's private communications without their consent. Okay, that is eavesdropping. And that is how some people get information to spread through organization. Sometimes so they could come from friends and relatives who are superiors or who have access, okay, who have access to certain information in the organization. So because the chief accountant is your father or anything, or because you are friends with him or her, the person is able to tell you that, oh, this month they said they are going to reduce every worker's salary. So you got that gossip or rumor through your friendship or because you are a relative to the person. So that is also another source of guilt. There is another one where when valuable documents are disposed of, especially when you go to the refuse dump, you see people searching through for documents, and sometimes you come across document that is very vital to the organization. People use it and start spreading rumors. So let me add that one too. So documents not properly disposed of. Okay. So professors, these are the sources of grapevine, and for that matter, this is grapevine, its characteristics, advantages, and disadvantages. Please, any question? Prof. Charles and Deladem, any question? Okay, no questions. So let's continue our class with communication gap. in the next session. I'll see you in the next session.